Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll continue with the novel Animal Farm. This video is on the plot summary of chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the novel. And it's a short novel, as you know, with only 10 chapters. So let's have a look at these chapters. We have already learned about the important characters of the novel. So most of those characters will come across in these chapters. In chapter 1, we will find the setting of the novel, that is the manor farm, the owner of the farm, Mr. Johns, and all the animals who are actually the major characters in the novel will be introduced in the first chapter itself. So, when the novel begins, we find that Mr. Johns is drunk and he is stumbling to his bed, and he is not actually in a very good sense that he is not aware whether he has properly closed the door of the farm and all. The moment this person goes to bed, the animals are all alive. They come alive actually, and they are going for a meeting. They have already planned a meeting, or they are aware of a meeting that is coming up. So they are all so excited about the meeting, and they all come for the meeting, which is going to be convened in the big barn. Actually, the meeting is actually presided over. The person who is actually speaking in the meeting is the animal which is speaking is Old Major. Old Major is an elderly pig in the farm. Old Major is described in the novel as he was 12 years old and had lately grown rather stout, but he was still a majestic looking pig, with a wise and benevolent appearance, in spite of the fact that his tushes had never been cut. Tush is actually the canine teeth of the pig, tusk of the pig. So almost all the animals that we have come across in the character list, they all come in this meeting. The first to arrive are the dogs, Bluebell, Jessie, and Pincher, and then the pigs, hens, pigeons, sheep, cows, then cart horses. We have seen Boxer and Clover. So they are described in the novel like Clover was a stout motherly mare approaching middle life who had never quite got her figure back after her fourth foal. So it's a mare, and Boxer is an enormous beast, nearly 18 hands high and as strong as any two ordinary horses put together. So Boxer is a very strong horse, and the other one, Clover, is a mare which is quite motherly. Boxer is furthermore described as having a line on his nose, and this white stripe down his nose gives him an appearance of a stupid appearance is given to it, and he is not of first rate intelligence, it is said, and but he is respected by every animal in the farm because he has a steadiness of character and a tremendous power of work. The other animals which are described are one Muriel, we have seen the white goat, and Benjamin the donkey. Benjamin was the oldest animal on the farm and the worst tempered. He seldom talked, and when he did, it was usually to make some cynical remark. And it is said that he never laughed, and whenever someone asks him why he didn't laugh, he says he didn't see anything to laugh. Then also, it is said that he is devoted to Boxer. There was a kind of connection between Boxer and Benjamin, they used to spend time together. Then the other animals which are described are like Molly, the foolish, pretty white mare, who drew Mr. John's trap and came mincing daintily in, chewing a lump of sugar, and her mane is uh, covered, decorated with ribbons, red ribbons. So she is very much conscious of this mare, is very much conscious of her appearance. The last animal to come was the cat. Uh, the cat took the warmest place, and uh, actually, the cat was not listening to any word of the speech it is said. The cat is very schemy, or rather very cunning. Then the only animal which is not present in the meeting was Moses, the tame raven, which was sleeping on a perch behind the back door. So that is the description of the animals. And now we'll come to um the theme of the particular, actually the central idea in the chapter, that is old Major's speech. Old Major says that he had spent 12 years, he is 12 years old, and during this life he had enough time to think, and he wanted to impart that wisdom to the rest of the animals. He told the animals that the life for animals is actually miserable, laborious, and short. We are born, we are given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has come to the end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. That's what he is going to tell the animals about, and he further tells about how difficult life was for animals. Even though the farm has a lot of provisions for the animals, it is not given to them. It's actually exploited by the men who own the farm. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. So that's what he has to tell, and he also puts the idea about um, how animals should strive for happiness. Um, then they can actually dream of happiness. They can think of rebelling against man, and how sooner or later they are going to achieve the goal of freedom. He exhorts them uh, about the need of fighting against this tyranny of man, and also tells them, concludes his speech talking about how all animals have a comradeship, a perfect comradeship, which can help them in the struggle. So the final sentence is, all men are enemies, all animals are comrades. And finally, when there were rats in the meeting, and the dogs actually tried to um, attack them, uh, he had a question whether these domestic animals should include wild animals also in their comradeship. So um, it was put for vote, and uh, the majority decided that the majority decided that these wild animals like rabbits and rats can be considered as um, comrades. But the four animals which were against this idea was the cat and the three dogs. Before concluding, he also tells that once they achieve their goal, they shouldn't be like man, they shouldn't resemble man. Even when you have conquered him, do not adopt his vices. No animal must ever live in a house, or sleep in a bed, or wear clothes, or drink alcohol, or smoke tobacco, or touch money, or engage in trade. All the habits of man are evil, and above all, no animal must ever tyrannize of his own kind. Weak or strong, clever or simple, we are all brothers. No animal must ever kill any other animal. All animals are equal. This is how he concludes his speech, and he also talks about a dream that he had. In the dream, uh, he listened to a particular song which he had heard as a young pig. His mother used to sing that song along with other songs, and they used to sing only a few lines of the song, but in the dream he listened to the whole song, which he actually sings to the animals, which which he considered it as an important. It's like an anthem for the animals. It's called Beasts of England. The song is called Beasts of England, and the animals actually learn the song immediately. It goes almost like this: Beasts of England, beasts of Ireland, beasts of every land and clime, hearken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time. Soon or late the day is coming, tyrant man shall be overthrown, and the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beasts alone. The animals liked the song quite well, and they started singing it together. Even the stupidest of them had already picked up the tune and a few of the words, and as for the clever ones, such as the pigs and the dogs, they had the entire song by heart within a few minutes. And then, after a few preliminary tries, the whole barn burst out into Beasts of England. In tremendous unison, the cows lowed it, the dogs whined it, the sheep bleated it, the horses whinnied it, the ducks quacked it. They were so delighted with the song that they sung it in right through 5 times in succession. Actually, the whole uh, sound or uproar in the barn actually awoke uh, Mr. Jones, who um, seized the gun and let fly a charge of a number of 6 shots, hearing all these sounds. And then immediately all the animals went back to their place of sleep and they went to sleep. So that's chapter 1 of Animal Farm. So let's move on to chapter 2. In the chap in this chapter, what we see is that old Major dies after 3 nights. He dies peacefully in his sleep, and his body was buried at the foot of the orchard. It was early March, and in the next 3 months, there was a kind of secret activity going on in the farm. Like animals were trying to achieve their goal. They had a new outlook of life, and they did not know when the rebellion was going to take place, but the animals had a new uh, perspective regarding life itself, so they tried to strive for that. And the work of teaching and organizing others fell naturally upon the pigs, who were generally recognized as being the cleverest of the animals. Preeminent among the pigs were two young boars named Snowball and Napoleon, whom Mr. Jones was breeding up for sale. So these boars are actually uh, pigs which are not castrated, and porker pigs are pigs that are fattened for mm, their meat. So all other pigs in the farm are porker pigs, and these two actually are boars, and they are considered to be quite powerful. Napoleon was a large, rather fierce looking Berkshire boar, a type of boar, and the only Berkshire on the farm. Not much of a talker, but with a reputation for getting his own way. And what about Snowball? He is more vivacious than Napoleon, quicker in speech, and more inventive, but was not considered to have the same depth of character. So these are the two uh, important characters in the novel. Then we have porker pigs, and one among them is a small fat pig which is called Squealer. Squealer has a very round cheek, twinkling eyes, nimble movements, and shrill voice. He was a brilliant talker. When he was arguing some difficult point, he had a way of skipping from side to side and whisking his tail, which was somehow very persuasive. The others said of Squealer that he could turn black into white. So these are three important characters: Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer. So Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer, they together summarize the whole teaching of Old Major, which they called as animalism. It is a system of thought which actually um, uh, included all these teachings of Mr. Old Major. It wasn't easy to convince the animals about the need for rebellion. Some thought that Mr. Jones was their master, and if he's gone, nobody is going to feed them and all. So the pigs took up the responsibility of convincing these animals. And Molly is one among them. Molly, when she was talked to about um, this rebellion, she asked, "Will there still be sugar after the rebellion?" Since she was a kind of a pretty domesticated kind of horse, she was fed with sugar by Mr. Jones. So she was only concerned about what she's going to get. And another question was, shall I still be allowed to wear ribbons on my mane? So then Snowball says ribbons are actually uh, badge of slavery. Liberty is worth more than ribbons. She was not that convinced, but Molly agreed to this. And another the issue that they come across is um, that of a story made by the raven, Moses. He had talked about uh, a mountain, a place where there is everything is available. It is called a sugar candy mountain, and animals can go there. A mysterious country called Sugar Candy Mountain. Uh, when they died, they are going to go there, and it is somewhere up in the sky, a little distance beyond the clouds. And Sugar Candy Mountain, uh, Sunday 7 days a week is there, and 7 days a week it is Sunday. That means they don't have to work there. Um, then there'll be a lump of sugar, clover, and linseed cake grew on the hedges. Animals hated Moses because he told tales and did no work. So Moses is always telling these kind of stories, and uh, like some of them even believed in this story. So this was a difficulty for the pigs to convince them that there is no sugar candy mountain. Now, in short, what happens is that uh, they didn't think of having this freedom so soon, but what happened was one particular day in June, this person, Johns, was so drunk that he didn't return, and his servants also they did not feed these animals, and the animals were so hungry that they broke the whole um, confinement, and they broke into the storage room and they had their um food. And when these men tried to capture them, they attacked them too. So that was a spontaneous response from the part of animals. It wasn't a planned attack or anything. But ultimately, what happens is that the rebellion is achieved. Johns and his people, including his wife, Mrs. Johns, everyone runs away from the farm because the animals were so aggressive. And the animals couldn't believe that they have actually achieved the freedom. After these men are gone, they actually go around the farm to make sure that the farm belonged to them alone. So, this is what happens in short. And as you know, the pigs turned out to be the learned ones. They found some books, discarded books around, and those books they used to learn language, and they learned to read and write. And this made them the uh, superior powers in the a powerful lot in the whole farm. And they decided to convert the farmhouse into a kind of museum. They decided not to live there because actually old major had talked about not uh, using things that are used by men like bed or clothing. Then uh, they they made the teachings of animalism into seven commandments. Those seven commandments were written by Snowball, and it was displayed before the farm. And the name of the farm itself was changed by the animals. Instead of Manor Farm, it was called Animal Farm. So these are the seven commandments written on Animal Farm. Whatever goes upon two legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon four legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal. All animals are equal. So when this rebellion took place, the Mr. Johns and his people were getting ready for harvest. So the animals decided to do the harvest themselves. They are going to do it. They are going to work for the harvest, even though they haven't done that even before without supervision from the part of human beings. Uh, so when they were getting ready for that, the mm, cows actually needed milking. So the pigs somehow managed to milk the cows. There were enough milk. All the animals were looking for this milk and all. But Napoleon said, I'll take care of it. And they all marched towards the harvesting. Um, some animals were actually very eager to have the milk. The hens said like they used to get the milk in their mashes mixed with their mash. But um, Napoleon took care of it in a way, and they went for the um, harvest. But when they came back, the milk was gone. So, in the animal farm, there was a harvest. They worked really hard, and their efforts were rewarded. For the harvest was uh, an even bigger success than they had hoped. They had done it quite well. Every animal took part in the harvest in their own way. Uh, so the pigs were not actually working; they were actually supervising the whole thing. There was no wastage whatever. The hens and ducks with their sharp eyes had gathered up the every last stalk, and not an animal in the farm had stolen so much as a mouthful. So nobody had taken anything for their own. It was kind of big success. And Boxer was a very good worker even at the time of Mr. Jones. Now he worked really harder, and he made an arrangement with one of the cockerels to wake him earlier, and he used to work really hard. And his new motto was, personal motto was, I will work harder. Um, each animal had their own way of taking part in the harvest. Most animals worked really hard, but Molly had a way of getting up late and leaving work early with an excuse that she had a stone in her hoof. And the cat was somewhat peculiar. When there was some work to be done, this cat was not seen around, but it was there when there was food being served. And Everyone was convinced by the way in which she gave excuses. Then old Benjamin, he was unchanged. He used to work in a particular way during the time of John's. Even now, he worked the same way. He didn't work harder or anything. Uh, then Sundays there was no work. It was like a leisure day. They had meeting, and there was a ceremony which was observed every week without fail. Then there was a hoisting of a flag. An old green tablecloth was used by Snowball uh, to make the flag. Then it was a green flag. Snowball explained that this flag represented green fields of England, and the flag had the picture of um, a hoof and a horn painted on it in white. The hoof and uh, horn actually signified the future republic of animals. When human race had been finally overthrown, there is going to be a republic of animals. So that's what this particular green flag with a white hoof and horn represented. And there was going to be a meeting there in the barn. It is called a meeting. In the meeting, the general assembly, which is called meeting, the animals planned the next week, and certain resolutions were passed by pigs. Pigs were only the clever animals, so no other animals knew how to um, pass a revolution and all, or forward a revolution and all. They only voted for that. There was always a disagreement between Snowball and Napoleon. They never uh, agreed on anything. There was no agreement at all. The harness room of the farm was taken by the pigs. There they learned blacksmithing, carpentering, and other necessary arts from books. So they were the intelligent group. So that's what they did. And Snowball had certain committees for animals. Like he had um, a production committee for egg production committee for hens, clean tails league for cows, wild comrades re education committee, then whiter wool movement for the sheep, and various others. Most of these committees were a failure, but uh, educating animals went well. Um, the cat actually had joined the re-education committee for some time, and then it tried talking to the sparrows and told um, that since all animals are comrades, they can sit on perch on her paws. But the birds didn't listen to her. Uh, so the reading and writing classes went well. Most of the animals learned at least something, even though uh, Clover and Boxer found it difficult. Clover learned the whole alphabet. Boxer couldn't go beyond D. Only four letters did he learn, and Molly learned only the five letters of uh, six letters of her name. Then she made it with twigs and actually decorated it flower with flowers and admired it. So there are certain animals who couldn't remember the whole seven commandments. So what Snowball did was to make them by heart uh, with one single sentence. Help them make it by heart. Four legs good, two legs bad. This is what he taught. So the birds, like hens and birds, were against it. They had a kind of objection. At first, they had objected, but he said birds' wings are not actually like the hand of a human being. It's actually a part of leg itself. It's not used for manipulation, so it could be regarded as a leg. And so the birds could be considered as having four legs. Four legs good, two legs bad. That is the kind of more single line that they learned instead of the seven commandments. Napoleon had no interest in Snowball's committee. Uh, Education of the young was more important than anything that could be done for those who were already grown up. So what he did was he took the puppies uh, given birth by the dogs. He took them away soon after they were weaned. So in the last chapter we had seen that the milk had disappeared, and it was later known to the other animals that it went into the mash of pigs, their food. And when the apple started falling down, um, that also was taken by the um, pigs. So all the windfall apple and the milk went for the pigs. And Squealer, even though some animals murmured, Squealer had a skill in telling this. Um, like you do not imagine, I hope, that we pigs are doing it in a spirit of selfishness and privilege. Actually, many of us even don't like this apple and milk. We do it because for our health it is needed. So that's why we are eating it. If we don't keep our health in a better way, what will happen? Johns may return. With this argument, they somehow silence the other animals. The animals did not want Jones back at any cost. They prefer the freedom that they now experience uh, to the earlier life. So um, they had nothing to say against the milk and the whole apple harvest being taken by the pigs. So these are the three chapters in the novel, the first three chapters in the novel. Uh, I hope it is clear to you. Let's learn the rest of the novel in the coming videos. Thank you for watching.